The Incredible Adventures of Van Helsing. Andrew Dice, hello!
Hello.
So, we are going to play some The Incredible Adventures of Van Helsing. This game is like the lesser-known brother of Diablo, featuring...
Still cooler than the Van Helsing movie.
Definitely cooler than the Van Helsing movie. So, you can customize your character. As you can see here, this is my character. His name is Rodney Van Helsing. These are some of the duds I have going on. You can customize pretty much everything about him except for his little face mask. Whatever. What do you want to call that? Is that a... No, I don't know the word.
I guess
for that.
it's just it's a bandana, I guess.
Sure, yeah, you can customize everything about him in terms of the items. So like that sword is the sword I have equipped, and then the armor and the belt and all that stuff. But you can also customize your character color-wise, so you can kind of give them a little different sheen going on. You can alter what colors they're representing, but it basically just changes the color of their cape, more or less. But anyway,
who is that young lady in the background with in need of a more supportive top?
So that is yep, she definitely needs a more supportive top for sure. That is Katarina. She is my ghost homie.
Okay. Ghost homie, all right.
My ghost homie. She's basically like your pet or your...
Oh, that's offensive. You're talking, she would be like your, the character along with you in any rogue.
Yeah. In Torchlight, she's like your animal. This is bad. She's my companion.
Oh, okay.
She's a ghost, and she has ghostly powers, which you'll see. And she's just hanging around with me. So let's jump right in. You'll probably recognize pretty quickly, the look of the game and what it's trying to be. It's not trying to hide. It's obviously a Diablo clone.
Okay.
But still pretty fun.
There was a lot of things that people have said Diablo clones have done kind of better than Diablo, so...
I played a decent amount of Diablo 3, so I would say that it certainly aspires to be Diablo. There's some things that are different about it. So, as you can see, there's Rodney and Lady Katarina. You have a bunch of options. There's a lot of stuff going on, obviously, and as you might expect, plenty of stuff to sink your fangs into. So you have a pretty extensive skill tree. You have 2 weapons. You have some spells and a bunch of perks and a lot of stuff going on. So we'll kind of work through them really quickly. So you have your inventory. Your inventory obviously is what you wear. You got I have a bunch of stuff already waiting in the wings. If I wanted to sell it, I could dump it into Lady Katarina and she could go off and sell it for me.
Wow. Okay, she'll like the same as Torchlight 2, she'll run off and then come back to you once it's done?
Yeah, she's basically my slave.
Okay, yep.
She's a ghost, so we can talk about her however we want, okay?
I guess she's not a person anymore.
Yeah.
It's also a drawing, so...
Yes. Exactly.
It looks more... I don't know really if realistic is the right word, but less...
cartoony?
Yeah.
Yeah, it certainly has a
like more like Diablo 1 and 2.
Yeah, it has a sharper kind of... We're going for what this might look like in this world. So... inventory, and then you have a character sheet, which every time you level up you get about 5 points, I'm level 11, as you can see. And so you can put those points into 4 categories. Each one impacts a different thing. So, as I said, you have swords and you have guns. So you have body and you have dexterity. So body will impact the quality of your sword attacks, and dexterity will impact the quality of your range damage. And then you have willpower and luck, which, you know, give you little bonuses in specific areas. Specifically willpower with magic, and then luck is more focused towards what you're going to find out there and taking damage and whatnot. Obviously, I put a lot of points into body because I want to chop some guys in half.
Obviously.
Duh. Hello. And then you have a skill tree, which is got a lot of things going on, but not. I mean, it's not terribly hard to kind of discern what you're doing. So you have the Mystic Warrior, and then the Occult Hunter. Those are basically your skills for which weapon you're using. So Mystic Warrior is going to be your sword-based attacks, and Occult Hunter is going to be your range damage.
Okay. Is there no class to start as? Like no choice?
No. You are not a class.
Okay.
You are so-and-so Van Helsing, and everybody starts with the same skill tree. So as far as that, like, you know, like I said, there's some kind of lesser things about it than it's a lot more straightforward, which we'll get into as we go. But so you have a bunch of stuff to mess around with. You can individually raise the number of each attack. So, for example, this shoot attack, I can raise its damage using a skill point. I think you get about 3 every time you level up. Some of them cost 2 skill points to go up by 1. But one of the weirder things is you have tricks and auras, which are kind of active skills that are just on you. They're more or less your buffs. And then you have tricks, which are your magic. The magic I have is the healing spell, and then I have a shield, but you can get some other stuff going on. Anyway, lots of stuff to talk about. Basically, if you want to know more, or this seems pretty interesting to you, it's definitely worth checking out, because I have been having a lot of fun with it. So let's get into some combat. So one of the things that I really wanted to emphasize is, as you can see, there is nothing for me to attack. Nothing. So one of the more interesting things about the game, or something that makes it lesser than Diablo, in my opinion at least, is once you kill enemies in an area, they are dead. So you cannot grind your way through. You're basically going on a pretty linear path. So, for example, if you wanted to go back to the same area because you notice that there are some decent enemies that will help you level faster, nope, can't do that.
So the story or narrative fans of linear games will probably have no problem with that. But
yeah, I mean, it's certainly much more straightforward than you might expect. I went back into an area and was getting attacked by enemies as I went into new parts of a map. I'll bring up the map so you can kind of see. So it's pretty substantial, but once you've kind of cleared out the area, that's it.
Okay.
No more guys to attack.
So would this be more of a if someone was a little intimidated or just didn't know enough about Diablo, this would be a cheaper?
Yeah, I would say it's definitely a kind of good introductory point. It's still pretty extensive. There's still a lot of things to kind of manage, because you also have Katarina, who has her own skills, her own inventory,
Oh.
and you can kind of pick how she interacts. So, see, it calls her a companion. So she can be melee focused. She can be range focused. She can also be kind of almost. I don't want to say useless because you're gonna knock me for that, but she'll protect you, but she won't attack.
Okay.
And so as we're walking towards combat, I kind of queued us up with a new area to go. So if you'll see in the top right, there is a map, and it kind of always directs you where to go with this kind of beacon. So it'll tell you where you want to go to acquire.
Are you having to hold down the mouse button ahead of him?
Yes, or you can click your way.
Yeah.
Into, but I thought that might sound terrible.
It does. Yeah. It would.
Okay, so I think we're gonna get into some combat across this bridge. So let me just kind of set up. So you have a left button attack and a right button attack. You can put any of the spells from the skill tree into those two slots, but you only get two. And then you also get your ranged weapon. So your ranged weapon is the same thing. You have a left mouse button attack and you have a right mouse button attack.
Okay.
So pretty standard, but you don't have like a whole wealth of, numbers 1 through 9 are all your things. You basically just have two options.
Yeah.
Which it's not terrible, but basically if you're the type of person that wants to get really involved, this is again a kind of muted version of Diablo. And then you have combos. So the way combos work are you can determine these little additional skills. So for example, this explosive round skill, this shot will explode on impact, causing 50% of its damage. So you can pick how it attacks when you do your combo. So what's the best way to explain this? It sounds like combo, but it's not, or it is called combo, but it's not really a combo. Basically what you do is you supercharge your attack for one use. So if I were to remove all these, so now this combo would do nothing. So then when I add stuff to it, what it does is I can do up to 3, I believe. So when I go to attack somebody, I hit the space bar, and then you'll see in the bottom it shows me the combo that it's gonna do. It only does 1 because it's influenced by the yellow meter at the bottom.
Okay.
So kind of a little complicated. Not complicated, but I guess a little. It'll make more sense when I get into some combat. But there's a lot of things to attack. So I don't want to die while explaining it.
Potions.
It's cool. Just leave her behind. Real nice.
Yeah, I'm not too worried about her. She's inconsequential to me.
Okay, so the ranged attacks are causing damage, like splash damage, to people around the person you're shooting?
So the attacks I have, the bottom left attack is just a kind of straightforward shoot.
Okay.
And then the right one I have is, it's like a
opera cloak. Cool.
Yeah, you can pick up.
Fancy.
You can pick up some loot. You got tons of loot. It gets to a point. The one thing I don't really like is you can't compare the loot before you pick it up. You basically have to pick it up and go, oh, this sucks, and then drop it. So my right attack, as I was saying, is kind of area of effect shot. So I'll hit some central area and it'll do damage around, and then my left is a more straightforward shot. So now it's a little easier to explain because I have the yellow, which is called my rage. So the way rage works is you hit. That's what powers your combos. So if I didn't have enough rage, I wouldn't be able to do a combo. So now that I have a little bit more, I can get the full breadth of that quote-unquote combo. So the explosive round combined with what'll be 200% damage. So these are kind of like stronger attacks if you wanted to take on something a little bit tougher.
Gotcha.
So let's jump into some combat, and I'll just kind of mix and match and see if kind of follow.
I need healing potions.
So I've been kind of favoring ranged for the most part, even though I put a lot of my points into my sword, because it does just throw a bunch of guys at you. And if they just surround you, you die pretty quickly.
Not really. So yeah, best to keep them at distance for sure. Takes a special kind of person to go barbarian, and
yeah, I just think it's kind of what they do is they pepper enemies throughout. So as you're running or trying to be tactical, you end up drawing aggro of other groups of enemies, and it just gets to this point where you're just overwhelmed. And I've had a couple points where I wasn't having too much fun, but you can kind of learn to manage it. So let's.
I like the enemy design.
Yeah, they're pretty neat. And as you can see, so I had Katarina set up to be melee. So she takes on this weird like demon-looking form. If she was ranged, she would take on. I'll knock her to ranged for the next attack. She'll take on a different form. So she kind of, I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know what the word is for that. But she morphs into these weird creatures. So, yeah, I spend a lot of time drawing the ire of a bunch of guys, trying to manage them and watching them lay waste to me. You have health potions, so it's not like you're doomed. And I also have that healing spell. So I can pop that off. But yeah, I think that's one of the kind of drawbacks of the game, besides the fact that the enemies don't respawn, is the fact that they just kind of put them in packs. Like I've very rarely encountered just one or like, you know, a handful of guys. It's usually a group that's manageable, but they're manageable if I kind of run and poke at them or stab at them or jab at them.
So if you're doing melee, you can run headfirst into 2 or 3 groups and just be massacred.
Yeah, most of the time I find success. Oh, see. So now I'm gonna end up with a bunch of
Bingo. This was my entire experience of Diablo 3.
is just collecting.
Running away, accidentally running in the wrong direction into like another group. Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty much how it's been like for me so far, but I'm still having a decent amount of fun. I like the idea of so you're Van Helsing's son, doing his dirty work. Lots of loot. I don't have any more space, but all those loot are white, so I don't care.
Is there any particular mission or story, or are you just doing what you do?
So you have basic objectives in in the top right, things, what you're specifically supposed to be doing. So far, I have not experienced a story. I don't really know what I'm doing. I just ended up in this Transylvania-esque town, and
Some healing potions would be nice.
I ended up in a Transylvania-esque town, and I'm just helping them out. So, you know, kind of like Diablo or Torchlight, in that there's a central area, and I can warp to it with the town portal button that you see at the bottom. If I wanted to go sell some stuff, or I was just like, oh, I'm tired of exploring this area, whatnot. Yeah, a couple enemies that do this weird thing where they all share health and they all regenerate, which is
extremely weird.
So you end up just clicking a lot. Lots of clicking.
Not enough space.
Lots of clicking, which, I mean, you want out of a Diablo game, obviously.
Yep.
So there I used my combo,
Not enough space.
and that guy exploded into a million pieces.
So how much variety is there in the actual enemies?
So far, this area has been a combination of about 5 or 6 enemies, and then there's a area, kind of smaller area. This one is actually pretty large compared to the first one, where it was mostly werewolves and these like soldiers that are part robot or part machine.
Okay.
Machine robots. They're called, I think they were called dreadnoughts or something like that. So this area has been like a handful of enemies, and then the one before had completely different enemies. So I couldn't tell you. Yeah, no spiders so far. I'm sure spiders will come into play.
Yeah.
But yeah, as far as like how many enemies are in the game, I think each area has about 3 or 4 enemies to attack, and then there's usually a couple boss enemies that are a little larger, a little harder to kill. Some of them are tied to the quests, and some of them just give out some fun loot. Yeah, but so the basic rhythm of the combat is attack until you build up your rage meter, set up a combo, and then kind of target the more difficult enemy with your combo, because that'll be a stronger attack. But to be honest, it's kind of a drawback, because one of the things is just kind of grinding your way through Diablo, but knowing that I can't go back and attack. Like if I were to warp out and go back to this area, I wouldn't be able to cross the bridge and then attack those dozen or so enemies. I would have to keep pushing forward, and that would be where I would encounter people.
So they're making sure you're constantly challenged.
Yeah, but they're not giving you more enemies to attack. I would have liked just some way to reset things. I know that the developers are actually being kind of good about giving you what are called scenarios, which are like little, I guess, MMO-esque instances.
Okay.
So the scenario, I think a scenario just came out as DLC that was free, and I think it's just an area where you can, you know, level up. So if those are going to be free DLC, that's great, and I think that'll be a good place for people to, because you wanna get more skills, you wanna see what the game has to offer. But as far as like getting stronger, I've really only been able to push forward. So I imagine if somebody was at a similar point in the game as me, they would probably be around the same level. So there's that, but I don't think that's a terrible drawback. It's still, I'm still like a big fan of the idea. I think a Van Helsing vampire hunter son is kind of neat.
Yeah.
And although this level is very brown, the first area, which actually let's warp back to the town. So, I mean, that's pretty much the combat. Is there anything else you think you might want to know before you were to jump into a game like this?
No, I mean, like Diablo, you're basically doing the same thing over and over and over again, and it's just so if a game is a little more honest about that and then doesn't, place as much, it doesn't value these big, cinematic cutscenes and clicking through dialogue boxes as much. That's okay with me.
Yeah, no cutscenes to speak of so far. Little hand-drawn things at the beginning, like a little hand-drawn vignette to kind of set up the idea that you are Van Helsing's son, but nothing like, oh, I'm on the trail of like some sort of uber monster. You're really just going from town to town, helping people out.
Yeah.
So this is the town.
Does it have a name?
Yes, it is Morgova. I mean,
Okay. It's appropriately Eastern European.
no, Markovna. Markovna with a V, an N, and a K.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah. So there is in the town there aren't that many quest givers. There's about 5, and then there is a store for weapons, and you can also forge weapons. Weapons aren't necessarily scarce. You can pick up plenty of them, so buying things isn't as necessarily important.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have your general store guy. He'll give you all your trinkets and health potions and things like that. And there's also a laboratory scientist, and he will I'll show you. So you can learn. He'll teach you the auras and the tricks.
Okay.
He'll teach you tricks.
He'll teach you the tricks, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, if you know what I mean.
For the right price.
For the right price, he will show you everything you want to know. So you can learn the auras, and then you can also in the laboratory you can I don't know what's the word, where you can take items that have slots for what are called essence, and you can pop a different type of little like gem. You can pop a gem into them.
Yeah. Popping gems in the essence slots. I hear you.
Yeah. I don't know what the traditional term for that. I don't know if there's a standard term. But yeah, you can make your weapons have poison or electricity or whatever. So let's pop into the first area, which is called Croakwood.
Oh.
And it'll just give you kind of an idea of what one of the other areas. So those are on the little loading screen. Those are all the areas that I've been to.
All right.
So Croakwood, a little more green, a little more foresty. There's some snow. And actually, now there are enemies.
Uh-oh.
So I may have lied about everything I had just said.
Another dead soul.
A dead soul.
Don't say dead soul. We're not dead souls.
Oh.
We're corporally impaired beings.
So, I guess I lied, because now the enemies have respawned. So I apologize for choosing that to knock the game, because I had actually traveled to this area before, and my loot is still there. Like the loot I didn't pick up.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's definitely not as densely populated with enemies. So maybe that's just maybe I just wasn't traveling in the right area. But as you can see, so if you revisit an area, there's going to be big stretches of just nothing. So grinding isn't really an option, at least as far as being able to go back to a level and say, you know, take on the boss again or redo a quest or anything like that. But it's still pretty neat. The quests themselves are pretty basic, as you can see. Find this, collect that. But I like the look of it, and I like the idea. And Diablo is just, it's just a bigger version of this. So if you kind of want to get a little primer, this game's relatively cheap. I think it's only $15 on Steam. I don't know how long it is, but from what I've heard, I think it's about 10 hours worth of combat.
Which is a good amount for this kind of stuff.
Absolutely. Like, I think if they pop this also on XBLA, although there's a lot of mechanics to deal with, I think it could get some play there as well. But let's, before we end this guy, so you can actually go online and play with some people, and they will, I've only had it happen to me once, so I don't think too many people are playing this game simultaneously, but you can play with other people. I don't really know the rule sets for the online play, as far as XP and what's shared and what's yours and what's theirs, and like as far as story progress, how that impacts. I was running around this area and some guy popped in and we started attacking guys, and then he peaced out. So I played with him for about 5, maybe 10 minutes.
Oh, weird.
Yeah, but
this happened out of nowhere?
Yeah, I put it online to see like what the online was like, and he just appeared, and we were attacking some things, and then he disappeared, and I got sad.
Oh, well, yeah, you're buddies.
Yeah, we were best friends.
But did Katarina get jealous, or did she like not help you as much afterwards for a little while?
No, she was still fixing her top.
Yeah, that's so weird.
Yeah, I didn't really.
She did. Yeah, she even does it in game. Wow.
Yeah, she fixes her top the whole time. Yeah. Let me show you. So, in addition to the skills, you also have some perks. Every time you level up your reputation by doing quests and whatnot, you can add additional perk. Their, percentages increase in terms of like what you. So, for example, you can have 20% mana or 20% less mana per magic attack and whatnot. You can add some electrical or electricity properties to your attacks and whatnot, or influence how Katrina interacts. So you get 1 perk every time you level up. So I have 3 perks and level 3 reputation. So a decent amount of stuff to kind of tinker around with in the game.
Yeah.
It's not as bare bones as it might suggest for a game where I've kind of been saying is lesser Diablo. Just no classes. You got the swords and you have the guns, and that's what you use. And you have some magic attacks, but they're really not attacks. They're more spells to protect you or spells to buff you or Katarina. So before we end this, let's see. So let us create an online character and see if that's any different. So we're going. What should our guy's name be?
Rufus.
Rufus.
He's Rodney's younger brother.
Rodney's younger brother, Rufus.
Yeah.
So, you can also do hardcore, just like
With
Diablo.
Katarina, or
No.
sorry, she's got the chains. I actually didn't notice that she's wearing handcuffs.
I told you she was my slave.
That's really weird.
Yeah, I don't know what her deal is. So far, she hasn't really given me any backstory. Maybe I'll find that out later. I'm only like I've played for about like 4 hours or so I would think that if there was going to be an overarching story, I would have encountered it by now.
Yeah.
If the 10-hour completion holds, but I can't say for certain. Anyway, so yeah, there's hardcore. So you can play where death is final and you lose all your loot. And if you're that type of masochist, go crazy. So we'll create our online character. So this is that's what you look like when you start out. So you got your cool like Van Helsing hat, and then I have that.
Wow.
Oh wow!
It looks like it's Japanese Zorro.
Yeah, it's definitely like it draws some inspirations from kind of I don't know. It definitely tries to appeal to a very specific demographic overall.
Yeah.
He's dual wielding swords and whatnot, but whatever. That's okay. That's not terrible. So with the character we make. Wait, so I don't think this is any different actually. So let's pop into. Let's see if we can join somebody's game. Oh, everybody's playing on hard. That's terrific. Oh, you think we should... Do you think that region is... The RU region is Russia?
I would think.
Oh, you can play with up to... Oh, gone. They're done. Not interested. So you can play with up to 4 players. I didn't even realize that. So let's pop into somebody's game and see if we can play with them. Yeah, so there's single player and there's multiplayer going on. You got hardcore, a lot of stuff. If you are a Diablo fan, I think you will enjoy this. It's, from what I understand, it's definitely has a definitive end. Like, I mean, Diablo does, but
yeah.
It's certainly less substantial overall, but it's $15. I'm having a decent amount of fun with it. I enjoy the combat, even if it's a little weird, the whole pack mentality and the whole not being able to go back to areas and kind of grind your level up. I don't think we're going to be able to find an online buddy.
Aw.
Yeah, so nobody likes us. So first we have the most interesting online experience, and then we have no online experience.
No buddies for Rufus.
Nobody likes Rufus. Anyway,
So
that's
Katarina, I think.
Katarina.
Even though he is totally oblivious to it.
Yeah, she's a ghost. There's nothing he can do. I mean, I didn't want to point this out, but I will point this out. Like, her head and her arms and kind of like, you know, her dress, the bottom half of her dress are like a little transparent, but her boobs are perfectly visible.
Yeah, and if they're not, she kind of makes them even more visible. Maybe she was in some horrible accident that took the lower part of her body, and now she's like, well, I gotta work with what I got.
Maybe she was a prostitute in another life. Maybe she was, you know, maybe she died as a prostitute and this is just what she was wearing, and we shouldn't fault her for that.
I guess.
I don't know. Don't judge women based purely on their outfits that some dude probably designed.
Yeah, I think we can make that a safe bet.
Well, anyway, that's the Incredible Adventures. Is that?
Yep.
The Incredible Adventures of Van Helsing, available now on Steam for $15. If this interests you, give it a shot. I think it's a pretty good game.